Laura and Nora, and we're kind of Laura is, as everybody knows, to the founding member, founding president of the Alliance for Women Film Composers, and what she has done is pretty amazing and remarkable. And we thought that we would just have some wine and hang out and just celebrate. She's been nominated for 2 Emmys for Why We Hate, which is a gorgeous, gorgeous score that she's done, for Best Original Score and Best Main Title Theme. And we just thought we would just, talk with her, see, if you guys have questions. I thought we could talk about the score, talk about, the Alliance, talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. And Laura's going to do most of the talking anyway, but, we could just start by just welcoming everybody and, just maybe, Laura, I could start with a question for you.
Okay.
And just say, this whole thing started in 2014.
Yeah.
Did you ever in your wildest dreams think that it would become what it is and have the impact that it is?
No, I don't think so. And so my next wild dream is that, other than the community that we've all formed, that in a few years, we won't need to be having these conversations anymore. Not these conversations, but the conversation about, gender inequity, racial inequity. That's going to take more than 5 years, but, and it may all. But I think that there's been a change. I think we're in the process of a change. We have to see if it sustains. I think it will. But, my favorite line that I said at a Sundance brunch a number of years ago is I want the organization to grow bigger than we possibly can imagine in 5 years and be gone in 10. And that was like, I don't know, that was probably 2015. So where are we at? We're bigger than we thought.
Right.
And 6 years down the road, we've got 4 years to eliminate ourselves. I don't know whether it'll happen. It's like a sci-fi thing, it's like
self-elimination.
You've got 4 years to eliminate yourself. But I guess I guess I have a question. Are you guys feeling like there's a change? Are you feeling like there are more opportunities? Is it feeling a little easier than it might have 6 or 7 years ago for those of you who've been in it that long?
Everybody should just unmute themselves and jump in.
Heather or Aiko, what do you think? Do you think it's easier?
Ooh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah, it's definitely easy. I feel like it's hard to know, how much of that is just, I think it's cumulative. We're all working, but I just feel like when you look at those numbers in the blockbuster territory and you look at the numbers across the board, it's just still seems hard that we'll knock it out of the 4%, 2% zone in the next 4 years or something, but Yeah,
but what's interesting? It's like, if I look at sort of the quakes that have happened in the last few years, the first quake for us was that we were included in the numbers. So that was like Martha Loudson thing. The second quake was Harvey. And that was, everybody said, oh my God, there's sexual harassment. And those of us who've been at it for a long time have been saying, yeah. And now there's another quake, and that's this pandemic, which is going to turn the world upside down in terms of what a theatrical release means.
What recording means.
What recording means, that's a whole nother conversation. But I think that we'll see what happens over the next several months with box office. In other words, if Mulan hits and does well, then this feature business maybe, I don't know, it might just not be a relevant conversation or as relevant a conversation. And so I think that there may be another shift. And I don't know whether that will benefit us or not benefit us, but I think it's interesting. And I guess what I'm finding so stunning about the past 6 months is that, I did, I'm doing Lovecraft Country, as I hope all of you know, and you really should watch it. And I know you also all know that we recorded with an online orchestra. But what you don't know is, when this thing started going down in early March, I thought, oh, great. So I finally get a big HBO show, and we finally got the budget, and now I can't record the effing thing, right? And so, that was the, the birth of the online orchestra. And then Dana was one of my students at USC. We recorded their cues. I did a guinea pig cue, and then we did their cues as additional guinea pigs. But I had to let go of that feeling of being in front of the orchestra and having that kind of beautiful experience. But if I look into myself, also this kind of ego experience, it's like, I'm there, I'm finally in front of the orchestra, like all the boys get. And to kind of let go of that, there's something really wonderful about it. And everybody is safe and everybody's recording. The result is tremendous. And it saves me a lot of time, so I can move on to other things. I can do more work. I can spend more time with my family. So it's like in every sort of thing, there are these wonderful surprises, and I don't know. Anyway, maybe I'm just trying to make the best of a rotten situation. But
that's what you have to do, right? I mean, I think that's what we all have to do. And I love that. So beautiful. What was your orchestration on Lovecraft and also on Why We Hate? I'd love to hear what the band was and
I got like in and out of the question. Oh, is that us? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, Why We Hate was also a really cool experience because, there was some string stuff. The main title is orchestral, but all recorded remotely. I mean, we did the strings except for the string quartet, which I'll get to in a sec. But the strings we did overseas in Macedonia, and then the individual parts were recorded by individual people in LA. But I had a string quartet come to the house every week, and I was working on 3 series at the time. And so at that time, I was kind of playing with this idea of what if I use the same band for everything, for vastly different projects, but just sort of experiment with this instrumentation. And there was also something really wonderful and exciting and cool about that as well.
So did you use that instrumentation on Lovecraft, but just, in remotely, or?
Lovecraft is big orchestra. And for Lovecraft, I mean, that's actually really, I have a big interview tomorrow, so it's good preparation. So there are 30 players, but we have one woodwind player who's doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts. I mean, not always 7,
more,
but yeah. So it's 30, but then that's 38. And the first violins double second violins, right? Trumpets playing, C trumpet, C trumpet and B flat trumpet, trombones playing 2 or 3 trombone lines plus tuba. So the idea is that you use the minimum of players, just because it makes the file management a little bit easier. Like if somebody knows how to record themselves, and we of course trained everybody, which was also amazing.
And it's very like technically set up.
Yeah, but if somebody knows how to record themselves, then you want to use that person as much as you can. You know what I mean? For as many parts as you can. And so it also simplifies. You get, all these woodwind players. So what it means is that, okay, so this particular player does not play any bassoon. So I'm using contralto clarinet, contrabass clarinet, clarinets for the low end of the woodwind spectrum. And that, I like the timbre of that with low brass anyway. It'll fatten, like a contrabass clarinet will really fatten a tuba sound. And the cool thing about having all that separation is that you can do anything you want. It's like amazing. Yeah. And so suddenly, bass flute and alto flute, I mean, become these vibrant, they're not like sitting in the back of the orchestra and you're trying to dig it out. You have this kind of control, which is really great. I mean, look, it's a pain in terms of the post-production of it, but I think, watch the show. The show is superb. And I mean, Chandler, you saw it. Could you tell that it was an online orchestra?
Not at all. No, it sounded amazing. Yeah.
It sounds
huge.
It sounds huge.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a thrill about that, like getting the files back. The other day, I did a main title for another show that I'm working on, and it like had to have choirs. So it was like me, Nora, AK, student of mine, another student, Brett, Kyle, my assistant, who else? Janai Brugger's a brilliant singer, and her husband. You can't believe what these 8 singers sounded like. So it's like, it's fun to see what you can do in these ridiculous circumstances. I mean, you know, but it's fun. It's instantaneous, right? You can say, hey, can you record this cue? And you get it back. And it's nice because you also, it's not like you've got a stack of 3 hours worth of stuff to get your money's worth. You know, people, it's easy to go turn on a mic and get it. So, you know, I think the next step is to try to figure out how we can make this more, you know, like work with the union and figure out how to make this work in those domains a little bit. But that's down the line.
It seems like also, you know, that's shifting how players are really, you know, how musicians in town and out of town are really experiencing their craft. You know, like somebody said, it's not survival of the fittest, it's survival of the most adaptable, you know? And I think we're all being adaptable, like what you're you know, what you're describing. And it feels like the musicians and everything, it's almost like a more personal, I guess, relationship, because you're dealing with every person individually.
It is,
well,
right?
It is.
Also, people are at home, and you know, people are struggling right now, right? They have their kids at home. They're trying. We have unsustainable. We have to move, I think.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, but the other thing about this, like we talk about what these quakes do, you know, and the baby's little, right, Sophia? Doesn't speak, doesn't understand yet, because I'm going to say something.
No, it's fine. She can't. I don't think she can understand.
Little
Wait,
baby. She's so cute.
So cute.
But you know, like all the sexual harassment stuff. Hey, guess what? Poof. Problem solved, at least for the time being. You know what I mean? So, I mean, a lot of musicians were complaining to me about issues on the scoring stages. You know, it's like I worked super hard on all of that at the Academy, and it's like, okay, nobody's harassing anybody right now because no one can get within 6 feet of anybody. So it's like, you know, there are these things, listen, I'm very pessimistic truly about this whole thing. I know I'm being optimistic and I'm not, you know, but there's some funny things that have happened. So I think people feel safe. They're at home. They're not being hassled. You know, if you've got to take care of your kids, which all of us do now, in varying degrees of success, you know, you can work, sort of. I mean, it's all a nightmare, you know. There you go. See, there's the pessimism.
You know, I wanted to just talk about why we hate, because how timely is that? You know, I mean, pick a title and insert it in 2020, you know, and it's just amazing. And I wonder if you want to talk a little bit about, you know, that score, what it meant for you to work on it, you know, how long you worked on it, what the process was for you of that. That's the one that you're nominated for.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the continued shout outs. Yeah, I worked on it for about 4 months. It was 6 episodes. Sadly, it continues to be relevant. It's not just 2020, it's 2019, it's 2018, hopefully less in 2021, we'll see. It was a calling. I mean, it was something that I felt, that was one of the ones where I just got on a plane and I flew to New York and I sat down with with Sam and Gita, Sam Paul and Gita Gandavier, the directors, and I just, you know, I talked them into hiring me because I just felt like it was something that I had to do. It's so important. The show's so good. And it's what it does, for those of you who haven't seen it, is that it breaks down the science of hate, really, and the psychology of hate. And from a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, like analytical, but dispassionate almost. You know what I mean? The people who speak are very passionate, but the sort of the process of the documentary is dispassionate and not judgmental. So there was, I remember in Tools and Tactics, which was the episode I was nominated for, like they put Trump at the beginning, Trump and Viktor Orban and other people, and didn't really comment on anything specifically, but just let it be. You know what I mean? And I really respect the filmmakers for that. And so I had to talk them into letting the music, you know, say something, because of course, you know, a lot of documentary, how many of you have worked on documentaries? Yeah, I mean, sometimes you really got to talk them into letting you editorialize, and sometimes they'll take like a moral stance on it. It's kind of like, look, you turned on a camera, you made an edit, so there's an editorial perspective to this. You know what I mean? It's not totally, you know, without comment. And so, but they let me, and they let me do my thing. And there's a lot of really experimental music in it. We had like, you know, sax quartet, and like I said, the string quartet, a lot of electronics. Nora and I both playing piano quite a bit. So lots of inside of the piano stuff, you know, just weird stuff.
But there's also a lot of big music too.
Yeah.
You know, between the main title and
right.
all the South Africa stuff.
Right.
So that.
There's some big string stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously a weighty subject, but it was very hard to work on, and the imagery was tough. It was challenging. It's one of those things where your kid walks in the room and you switch off the TV right away.
It also has a lot of hope in it too, in terms of it, because it takes place all over the world over these 6 episodes. There's a hopefulness about it, in this idea that despite the terrible situations that people are in all over the place, that there are ways out. And so despite all of that, though, there was this very educational feeling of like, there's a way out of this. There's a way to make this world better. And I think that was really at the heart of everything, every cue, every experience. You know,
I think sort of going back to your very first question, you know, if you look at the nominations in this particular category, you see, I think 3 women nominated, right?
Yeah, I think so.
People frozen?
Yes, it's Amanda Jones, Pinar Toprak, and you.
Are we frozen?
Are we frozen?
No.
Okay, we're just trying to get used to where we are and figuring out everything. But you know, the fact that 3 women were nominated and 3 women composers were nominated in the Emmy category, that is proof of the pudding right there. That's proof of everything that we've been trying to do. It's a category that, you know, that Miriam, me and then Miriam brought it home for sure. And it's a category where women are working. So there you see the diversity, and there you see where your votes count, right? Where, you know, getting more women into the Television Academy, this is part of a long process that we've all been working on for a number of years. And I think that is really, really significant. We've been doing the same thing at the Motion Picture Academy, and, you know, and making a short list happening, which last year Catherine Bostic was on, Michael Abels, you know, we saw some real diversity on the short list. So I think that all of these kind of strategies are starting to pay off.
That's such a good point. I mean, it's insane that there was 3 nominations in one category for the Emmys. I love it.
Yeah, we're moving because I don't think I have good internet connection here. Here, Nora's carrying it.
We're going on a field trip.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, we can hear you guys okay, but if we're freezing up, we can hear.
Stand here.
Moving elsewhere in the kitchen.
There.
Okay.
Stand.
What else? Anybody have any questions? Yeah, Cora.
So I have a question about the mixing, because for the digital recording, I think mixing is a big problem, right? I'm wondering how you guys solve that, like how you guys make it sounds as good as like the big recording.
Are you talking about for Why We Hate or for Lovecraft?
Lovecraft. Actually, I watch it. It's really good.
Thank you. Well, Why We Hate is this one.
Thank you.
She's really, really talented. And Lovecraft is Brad Hanel, who is genius. And when we
pre-mix everything.
Yeah, we pre-mix everything because it has to go to the client, right? All the demos. But Brad is, he's the one that was really essential in us working out the system of how we were going to record, how all the stuff goes back to him. It gets kind of pre-mixed and tuned by his assistants.
It's a whole like really elaborate process with multiple people going through everything. It gets prepped before it goes to him. But it ends up as just a massive Pro Tools session.
Yeah.
With individuation, right, for every single player.
Right.
And we don't talk about the microphones.
But what's interesting about it too is that, you know, we talk about this kind of, you know, surrendering of authorship in order to record this way, or surrendering as a producer. I mean, honestly, Brad is kind of producing it. And so, you know, Nora and I will get mixes back that then we'll comment on, and there'll be things that we want to change. You know, this needs to be louder and stuff that was definitely referential in the demos that we sent. So we want the client to hear what she heard and then to have it, to recognize it, just to have it be better. But he's done. I mean,
there's like really crazy stuff going on in terms of reverb and all of that too, in order to make all these individual people line them up so that they actually sound like a section, record it so that it sounds like a section.
Yeah, people are placed. Like Brad, like we worked with people so we would know where they would be placed in their homes, so that you have a kind of an approximate first violin, you know, principal first, you know, second, and so it really mimics an orchestral situation. But you know, the thing that was the surprise, the thing that's been so cool about Lovecraft is, so I wrote the music, and it's really like, feels really like me. Why We Hate does too. I mean, these are two projects that feel like my compositional voice, you know, it's like, I'm not being restricted. I'm not being held back. I get to be like, you know, modernist and to do all the crazy things that I love to do. And then when I heard the first mixes back for the episode that aired on Sunday, it was like, oh my God, it sounds like Jerry Goldsmith or Bernard Herrmann. And I realized that it's not only kind of my aesthetic, but it's the miking, right? So because everything is being close mic, it sounds like that music of the late 50s and the early 60s. And I would love to say that oh yes, it was by design, but no, it was just like this incredible, wonderful thing that happened. And I was so thrilled about it. And it's perfect for the show because the show takes place in 55. So, you know, all of it fits within the context of the show. And so that was a thrill. But Brad Hanel is a really key, very good special engineer. I like engineers that put something into it. Like, it's not just about it sounding like I want it to sound. It's about somebody actually influencing the sound, like a musician. A good engineer can do that. And he does that. He shapes it to sound like something that he wants it to sound like. And he gets excited about it. He gets excited. Yeah. Well, we've had a great time. I just finished my last cue today. So today is actually a really big day in this house. Because
wow.
Final
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. What else?
Is Brad in LA or is he in New York or?
He's in LA. Yeah, he's in LA. How many of you have met Rebecca Morlato? She works at Fox. Anyway, he's married to her.
Ah, okay.
So I met him on Black Nativity because it was a Fox film, and they brought him on because the show, it was really a mess. There were a lot of pre-records, and then whenever I have the budget, I'll use him.
So cool.
Yeah, he's great. Really superb, as you can tell.
Dana has a question.
Yeah, Dana, hi. Where are you? Are you in LA or back in New York?
No, I'm in LA for the next few weeks, and then I'm gonna head to New York for a little while.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too. Thank you so much for doing this, and it's good to see you.
Sure.
I do have a question though. Also, I was wondering, logistic-wise, are you sending everything out to all the players at the same time, or are some of them getting recorded first?
It's at the same time, and we give them a time limit.
Yeah, they all have 24 hours.
Yeah, no, I think it's like 48.
48 hours.
Like, we were gonna do the Exquisite Corpse thing, but it just didn't work. And the thing is that, not to brag, but my demos, I'm good at that. And so my MIDI demos, what do you call it, virtual, or I can't think of the word, virtual stuff, sounds really good. So they play to that.
But they also, each player plays to a different Pro Tools session. So it's the prep to record is really crazy.
They all play to different Pro Tools sessions? Well, that I didn't know.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Max sets it up. It goes through a whole like crazy process.
Oh, so the woodwind player won't have woodwinds.
They don't all.
But the strings need strings.
They all play to different things, and they all have different amounts of different things, and they also only see the tracks where they're supposed to record to. Right. So it's not like go make your own tracks. It's
everything's pre-set up for them.
And custom.
Yeah.
Do you mix in some of the virtual strings too, or is it all live strings?
Oh God, yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, but having said that, when I first heard the first mixes from 101 and it had kind of a chamber sound to it, I liked it.
You lean into that.
And so I lean into it sometimes, right? And what's nice, and there was one that I heard for episode, what was the last, 106, where it started out, you didn't even hear those mixes, where it started out like super smallish, like no samples, and then it grew and grew and grew. It sounded great. So I think that's an aesthetic choice too that you have now, which is really really cool. I mean, listen, it would be a lot easier to go. But I don't feel like comfortable putting people in a room together. Everybody has to make their own choices in this particular situation, and I'm not judging anybody. But for me personally, if somebody got sick on a session of mine, when I know that there's another way to do it, I would never forgive myself. I just won't do it. Not until this thing is over. I don't care if you're in Macedonia or Tasmania, it's the same thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shirley. Hey.
Hey, how are you? I was just wondering, did you have to do anything different orchestration-wise?
Yeah.
That was much, it's because instead of like you're no longer running for the room, kind of.
Think about it for a minute. So if you have the same people playing first and second violins, right? You can't have any unison first and second violins, right? Otherwise it'll phase. So what I wind up doing is doubling violas with first violins if I want a thicker sound, and then have the second violins do something else. And so I'm finding myself, it actually changes my writing a little bit. And that, I'll do octaves when we want big movie music, but there's a lot of this kind of string writing, almost English string writing, like Vaughan Williams, that type of feel where things are really layered. And then there's one cue, I can't wait they're just recording it next week. I can't wait to hear how it turns out, where I have an amazing viola section, because they're all friends of ours from Juilliard, right? And so I wrote 5 violas, solo violas, and then all the strings and groups around it. So that will be really interesting to see how very thick string writings, but knowing that the violas are kind of be front and center and then these kind of larger things. So I've been fine-tuning the orchestration as I've gone along too. And like I said, certain things, like I'm using woodwinds, very traditionally to support string lines and to have their own solos, but also to really support brass too, because, you want to be able to differentiate the sound a little bit. If you've got one player doing multiple things, they tend to do, it's one person, right? So you want to make sure to thicken it that you add another person when you can.
That aleatoric stuff.
That's been
Laura
good,
wrote
yeah.
all this crazy aleatoric stuff, and at the beginning we were like,
They'll never be able to
how
do
will
it.
they do that?
Yeah.
Like, how you can't be on Zoom with everyone at the same time being, you know what I mean?
It works.
But it works. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. It's
Yeah.
great. And
It
you know,
works.
the notation's clean.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
As long as you think about in those aleatoric sections about people as individuals, right? You can't think about strings off, you know, you can't do any of that kind of stuff. So you really got to think about different ways to sort of amass that sound. No, I've loved actually the sort of the orchestration education or rethinking of orchestration has been one of the really cool things, something I've really enjoyed.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah, sure. Well, unless there's anything else, I want to see Joe Biden. Does anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Aiko, good to see you.
Good to see you too, and I love the music from Lovecraft.
Thank you.
I didn't think that you were recorded separately. So, how does that work with the budget-wise? If you're hiring the musician by, like, individually, how do you calculate, or how do you minimize, or how do you have like 3 hours, or how
That's a really good question, and I'm going to email you the answer for that.
Okay.
I came up with a very good solution.
Okay.
But I don't want to be too public about it right now because I think it's something that we can work with the union in a way that will benefit everybody. So I want to kind of take it down a trip.
You don't have to tell me anything that you don't want to really.
But I will tell you, but just not publicly right now.
Okay.
Anybody else before we all go and watch our convention?
I have a question too, but I can just email you as well.
Tell me.
If you want to go.
Tell me and then we'll go.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that you included some like inside the piano stuff, weird sounds, modernist. I love that stuff too. I was just wondering, like, if you, throughout your career, they're kind of two questions. One, what were the circumstances under which you had more creative freedom to do that sort of thing? And two, like, if you're not feeling creatively fulfilled by a project, do you have any side projects or personal things you do to kind of keep yourself happy?
Yeah. So really all of this, like Lovecraft, is because of a project that I did, an opera I wrote actually in 2009. It started out just being a dream that I had, and then the circumstances folded onto each other to make it a reality, and it was the setting of a Langston Hughes poem. As a result of that, I booked Black Nativity, which is a Langston Hughes, was a play by Langston Hughes and made into a film by Fox, and I met Raphael Sadiq, and that opened up a world of, then Black Nativity led to Underground, which was the showrunner, Misha Green, who's also doing Lovecraft. So I will say that that a whole new resurgence in my career has happened as a result of my concert music. And there's a moment in Lovecraft, which I can't reveal, but in episode 9 that brings it all together for me in a big way. So yeah, do side projects, and not everything is creatively fulfilling, and that's okay. You know, you got to make a living, and a gig is a gig, and there's no shame or harm in it. I just, with these particular 2 projects, I've been lucky. They've been great. You know, just super, super fun, and like, I get to be my maximalist self, you know.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, people, lots of love. I'll come back on again.
Good luck, Laura, with everything.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Miss
Good
you
to see you all.
guys.
You're really, really nice. Sending love.
Bye.